It's too dark for the camera, but I can see a big body down there already. I think the autofocus is going to work in this dim light. And just like that, another day. Saturday, May 17th. Here we go. Long day yesterday. We went all the way out to the coast to where the boat is in Bamfield, British Columbia. And what a mess, man. Oh my God. Thing has to sit outside all year, right? So imagine that. I spent, I don't know how long, power washing the outside, and Sarah was on the inside. Scrub-a-dub-dubbing. Drizzling rain at the same time, but almost there. I think today we've got to go back out, and then, of course, both my electric downriggers didn't work, so I got to redo the wiring. Whatever. Standard. And I have to organize all my fishing gear. I think I got my list. I'm going to hit the gear store today and get loaded up, pre-tie everything, and then possibly go fishing tomorrow morning. And see how it all goes. Oh, and on that note, I don't know what's going on, but I know I'll have to go into the website. There's a link for the fishing in there. bookit@howtohunt.com, but a lot of people are emailing something else in there, and they're all getting caught by my own personal email. So wake up this morning, hit my email. Hold on! And then I told Sarah, God, I think I got like a dozen phishing emails in my inbox. She goes, well, they're not emailing me. I'm like, I don't know. So I forwarded to her. So I guess if you're looking for a reply, and if you haven't emailed bookit@howtohunt.com, then it's going somewhere else, right? Hold on a minute. The dog needs... What else? Remote viewing. I've been forwarded a few channels about remote viewing over the past, and I've kind of looked into it, but it hasn't generated enough interest in me to really look at it. And then, of course, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, as usual, and I put on the Sean Ryan podcast with a man on there. It was a long podcast. When I picked up on it, it was really, really interesting. He was a government psychic, and he was explaining remote viewing and how it works. And it's like, holy shit, how's that for a possible puzzle piece fitting, right? And he is convinced that every single one of us can do it. So, he also said that when he said that while he was in his career, politicians, as in the top politicians, didn't give a shit whether they stood beside him or not, because he said, quote, they are basically untouchable when they get to that stage of their career. And he also said the guys in the field, the CIA guys in the field, FBI guys in the field, absolutely weren't scared to stand beside him and loved what he was doing. But he said the bureaucrats in between are all absolutely useless. He said he would like to put him in a big meat sandwich and feed him to the sharks. And he said they could not stand him because they all knew of what the skills these government psychics have. I said as a couple of examples, they were trying to get in on somebody, I think in France, and they stormed on the psychic's word and stormed one room and caught a guy, a married French government official, and he was in bed with 3 women or some damn thing, married with children. And then another guy, they caught him, he was married with children, they caught him with a couple dudes in bed or some damn thing, all sorts of shit, right? But he knows, he's got a lot of dirt on a lot of people from his skills. So, if you ever were to wonder why we are not taught to enhance our sixth sense or our possible, if you call it, remote viewing skills, there you go. It's not too hard to figure out. We would have known that anyways, right? So, I might, because I've got lots of time, I wouldn't mind looking into that skill, remote viewing skill. I know that Michael Jaco, I did his podcast, he was talking about it as well. Apparently he does it, but it never really caught my attention too much through his delivery. I don't know why. But I wouldn't mind looking into that. Could you imagine if there was a remote viewing class? Which there should be. Unless you're bad, unless you're guilty. Wouldn't you think that the only people that would voice against that? Oh, no. We don't want to teach the children that. That would just be irresponsible. Why? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? Are you bad? Right? I wouldn't give a shit. I don't care. I wouldn't myself. Put one of those psychics right beside me right now. Give her. You're probably going to fall asleep if you're looking for dirt. You know what I mean? Give her. I'm all over it. So, we easily know why our skills are being suppressed. Right? So, the other people that we've been talking about dominating my YouTube channel, obviously, they are absolutely in tune with their natural given skills. They're given natural skills, right? Unlike us. We get little tidbits here and there. So knowing what they are capable of doing, that's possibly a huge puzzle piece for many, right? If the title of that skill is actually remote viewing, they're in tune with it. I would be willing to gamble the farm that they are so in tune with it they can turn the dial and put whatever channel on they want. Don't you think? And then that would answer a shit pile of questions that we've had for a long time. Repeat questions. Right? But then I wonder if there's on the other side of the coin, then how about developing the skill where you would knowingly block a remote viewer? You know what I mean? The rabbit tunnels go on and on and on. Interesting topic. Interesting. It took Sean Ryan and his government official guest to actually get my curiosity kicked into high gear. They got me. Now, I'm going to read off of here because I don't believe the notes on my Mac have meshed up with the notes on my phone. Still. Why is that? Don't know. Nope. Still haven't. That's stupid. Excuse me. Oh well. So I'm going to be staring right at the camera on the computer. I'm not going to be doing this from inside. I don't like being in here doing this. I'd rather be outside in the real world with you guys doing this. But anyway, let's have a listen. Excuse me. This is titled Encounters from a Retired Law Enforcement Officer. Now, I don't know if we've read this. We've had a lot of titles like that, but let's get into it. Steve, thanks for all you do. Spreading truth has gotten to be a thing of the past. I, like many others, are with you, and the time is now to stand up to these pricks lying to us, trying to force New World Orders / socialism via the pandemic. Rant over. My first encounter was in the early 80s in East Tennessee, where I now know Scott Carpenter has proof of these beings there at Royal Blue, Campbell County. I was in my early teens with a bolt-action 12-gauge shotgun and a pocket full of slugs. The adult I was hunting said, walk out this logging road about 3/4 of a mile, then drop off the side hill, sit and wait on daylight. Once I got to my spot, I felt overwhelmed with fear / dread and a feeling to leave now. I thought, no, I'm just a scared teenager whose mind is playing tricks. I'm going to stay, and I felt like that till daylight. We hunted there for years and always felt watched and a pressure to leave. Never knew until years later it could be the Sabe. Second encounter. I was 18 or 19, and a friend that was a veteran police officer and I were hunting in Fentress County. We had an F3 tornado that came through that day. We found out after returning home. No cell phones back then. I was a climber. I was in a climber about 20 feet up a pine when the sky turned greenish black. Winds picked up, raining sideways, quarter-size hail. So we climbed down and drove into town to dry clothes at a laundromat, eat dinner, and return to sleep in the truck to hunt the next morning. We were in an 87 Dodge Raider. Seats reclined, and the rainstorm continued. At around 1 or 2 a.m., we were both awake in total darkness, and he whispered, "Are you awake?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Someone is outside the truck," and I agreed. He said on the count of 3, we'd turn the headlights on, and we would get out, pistols at the ready. When he turned the headlights on, we exited the truck, and there was the loudest scream / roar, and the lights were partially blocked. At that moment, a large dark figure ran across the muddy pipeline road on 2 legs into the pine forest with us in chase, until my buddy caught my attention yelling to stop running, saying we're going in a circle. So we went back to the truck, and the hood was dented in, to the point he had to have it replaced. To this day, he refuses to talk about it. We left that night and didn't hunt there again, and as we pulled out, the headlights showed the path of the destruction this thing made entering the pines. Limbs broken up about 9 or 10 feet. Wow. Third encounter, fast forward 2011, sitting in a 15-foot ladder stand in Giles County, Tennessee. Giles, probably. Overlooking a field with my back to a creek and a ridge, when a golf ball-sized rock came flying over my head, landing in the field, 30-ish yards in front of me. I scanned the whole ridge and creek line with my scope. Nothing. That was a long walk out that night to the four-wheeler, with a pressure / urge to leave now. Steve, as a retired law enforcement officer, I stand with you, and I will honor my oath until death. I love hearing that, sir. If you're ever down south in Tennessee, we have some great deer and hog hunting and awesome fishing. I'd love to buy you a beer. Sorry for the loss of your horse. Lost my patrol canine of 10 years to brain cancer. What a kick in the nuts, no doubt. Stay safe and God bless Alex. Alex, appreciate you, man. Hope you're still here watching the channel. These are a bunch of emails that I have dug up in the inbox, with the original inbox. I think I found a lot of the 2,500 emails I lost a couple years ago. So, Alex, I hope you're still here, man. Appreciate you coming out. Big time. Welcome to the club. And there's an example of get out of here, leave now, and the people didn't leave, and they didn't die. Why do they feel the need to stay and get the humans out of there from a place where humans always go? Anyways, why are they stuck there? Did they just show up there? Are they too insecure to leave the zone they're in right now and go somewhere else? They don't know where to go because they just got here? Maybe, right? Just coming up with why. Why do you need, why did you show up where humans frequent all the time, which you should be able to avoid easily? And why did you show up there and start freaking out thinking, get out of here, leave right now, because I'm not? And people are going to say, oh, they're protecting their young. Like hell they are. No, they're not. You're going to protect your young and you do just what all other animals or people do. You scoop up your young and you go the opposite direction of the human being. Grizzly bears do it. Black bears, cougars, wolves, everybody does it. Right? Especially such a huge, fast, intimidating person that outclasses us in every way. No, we can't just pick up our kid and walk away. Right? And we're warning you to stay away because we're protecting our children. No, you're not. As far as I'm concerned. Nope, that's not it. I'm thinking possibly they just got here. That's what I'm thinking. They don't know where to go. Or they're told to stay put. Something's going on that we are not picking up. Next, possible Bigfoot encounters. Alrighty. First, I would like to say that I am the daughter of an avid hunter and writer on the subject of hunting. Oh. As such, I was, even as a girl, exposed to hunting, trapping, and the great outdoors from a very young girl on. My father was born at a time where hunting was still a life skill. I learned many valuable lessons from my scientifically minded father. One was to pay attention to detail and the great love for nature and the outdoors. Fast forward to November 29th, 2019. My son and my two grandsons and I went looking for geodes in Bloomington, Indiana. While we were in Indiana, I noticed that there was a national or state park nearby, and sort of on the way home as we traveled north past Indianapolis, Indiana. The night before our trek in the park, we went swimming at the hotel. I slipped on the slick concrete and hit my head pretty severely, and my ankle. Ouch! I wasn't going to stop the trek, but when the guys decided to climb a very steep hill, I decided I was not in shape to tackle that, so I walked around the hill to where I thought they might come down. I was not very steady on my feet yet, and my balance was not great, especially walking on river rocks. I took my time and was content, albeit moving slowly, walking the creek between the 3-story high cliffs. We met up about 15 to 20 minutes after they began their trek up the steep embankment. While trekking through the creek, one of the boys fell in the water. And given it was November, the creek water was low but cold. It was time to go back to the cars. I had a backpack with me and it was a bit heavy, but my dad taught me you carry what you bring, so when my son offered to carry it for me, I declined. I knew the guys were motivated to get into a warm vehicle, so I told them to go ahead, and I would follow at my own pace. I would be close behind them. Although it was starting to lose light, I felt safe. They headed off as I slowly walked the rocks so I could not fall again. I could see my son and grandsons hold up a bit and make sure I was behind them. The distance between us, however, increasing. Dumbasses. You don't do that ever. I don't care. We don't care what the ladies say. We're built to protect. You don't leave them behind. No matter how much they protest. As I went past a section of the river with high cliffs on either side, I heard a rock fall not far from me. I figured the rocks fall all the time from the cliffs, so I took no particular attention. A few minutes later, I heard what sounded like a larger rock fall and close to me. I looked up to see an open grassy area close to the cliffs and half expected to see some kid tossing rocks at me, but I heard no other sound, and certainly not kids laughing. I saw no one moving up there, so I continued slowly walking. Then, a handful of rocks came within a foot of me. I was tired, getting angry at whomever was playing this trick on me, and turned around, looked up, and shouted, "Stop it! Stop throwing rocks at me!" I made it to the steep and tall stairs from the bottom of the gully to the top where my son and grandsons were standing, waiting on me. I again waved them on, but I was starting to feel more and more a strange sensation that I was being watched. There were fewer other hikers by this time, and I could see no one besides my family. I was quite tired after climbing the stairs, and I found a bench nearby on the footpath, so I sat down to rest. I did not sit long at all, and I felt an urgent need to keep moving, even though I was very tired and I just wanted to rest. I was not afraid, but felt pushed by something and given an urgency. I felt like something was watching me from close behind, and I felt like it was trying to scoot me on the catch-up with my group. I felt maternal and for my good, but the urgency could not be mistaken. As each time I slowed down, I felt that urgency stronger until I could see my son and grandsons ahead by the car. I lay down in the grassy area on the side of the road opposite their car to rest. At that moment, the feeling of urgency left me. I never felt unsafe, like something was coming to get me, but the urgency to move faster than I wanted to was not coming from me. It was palatable. I do believe I encountered a Bigfoot, albeit likely a female, that was interested in caring for me as I was wounded. I believe she's on the hillside the guys climbed up and crossed quickly to the other side of the gully as I climbed the stairs. I believe she was probably within 20 feet of me and watched me the entire time I walked the path back to the cars. I believe she thought I was helpless and pushed me to get together with my group, and as soon as she saw I was with my group, I left. Second story encounter? ? I live in the country on 100 acres about 30 miles from a large city. My ground has plenty of wooded area. A 10-acre wetland my dad and I created almost 2 decades ago after I moved next door to my parents to help them as they aged. We have an abundance of wildlife here. Deer, geese, ducks, all sorts of other birds including hawks, bald eagles, nighthawks, blue heron, and white egrets. We have an abundance of ground animals as well, such as rabbits, fox, squirrel, and raccoons, and also an abundance of fish and other wildlife in and attracted to the wetland. Aside from when the mountain lions trek through here, wildlife is abundant. About half of my acreage is farm ground, and the rest is wooded. So we also have soybeans, corn alternately each year and harvest, and then some left in the fields, of course, that wildlife sees as a good source. I'm guessing you got some nice bucks running around there. One dusk early evening, I went outside and heard a really weird sound. It sounded somewhat like an ambulance. However, I could tell it was not mechanical. It was not human either. It did not sound like any of the animals I had heard here before. We had predator animals, such as mountain lions, previously mentioned, bobcats, badgers, lynx, fishers, and such. And having lived here for 21 years, I'm well versed in their sounds. I like to sit on my deck at night and listen to the sounds of nature. This sound did not match anything I have heard out there. I described my experience to my cousin and her husband, and they sent me a link to a Bigfoot scream, and it was identical. Given my previous experience in Indiana, I have no fear of these beings, if that is what it was. And most recently, I've had trees fall across the levee around the wetland, which I have had to chop up the branches so I can drive around in my golf cart. One looked dumped by heavy rains we had, and it appeared to have short roots, not unusual in a wet area. And on the other side, it was a bit more unusual. I have a set of about 6 to 8 trees that are old and dry, have died. I did not notice their condition until one was bent over at about 8 feet from the ground and obstructing the levee. I figured the wind had knocked it down, but it was in an area that the wind does not come often from the north in those woods. I noticed a few other limbs on the other trees bent over high and knocked down. Wind shear? I remember one day about a week and a half ago, I was down on the east side of the wetland enjoying the view when I heard a weird sound, like sort of a growl. Sort of like a large cat, indistinguishable in my experiences. I also heard a sort of a swishing sound, which may have been when the dead tree fell over. The branches did not hit the ground hard. They hung up a bit in a tree on the other side of the levee. That time, I did have a bit of fear because of my thought it could be a mountain lion, and so I headed to my home about a quarter mile away, as quickly as the slow golf cart could take me. I suppose the cracking of the tree falling over could have been the sound I heard, but it was a bit weird that the tree fell over 8 feet and not from the bottom of the tree, as more often I see in the woods, especially given there was no wind that day. Gravity could have been working on it for a while, though. Could a tree falling sound like a growl? My cousin sent me another video, and the growl in that Bigfoot video sounded the same that I heard. There are stories to be found online about sightings of hairy creatures out here, about 2 miles from my current house in the 1980s. It was more rural, of course, back then, and also in the small town of St. Jacob, Illinois, about 8 miles from here, again many years ago. There were sightings of big hairy animals south of town in the country, spotted by reputable people. So who knows? Did I encounter Bigfoot trying to protect me near Bloomington, Indiana? Have I heard a Bigfoot here on my own ground? Did I hear a Bigfoot push down a tree, or was that a natural happenstance? After I took my chainsaw to the tree branches and cleared the road, I went back to the house, grabbed an apple, and with the help of standing on the golf cart, put it in between the branched area where it broke. It was still there yesterday, which was surprising. I figured a raccoon would get it. And a week later, the apple was still on the tree, so I grabbed it and put it on the levee. Gone the next day by animal, no doubt. Grateful to have found it. End of email. There you go. Could it be? Could there be? Without a doubt. Around there, without a doubt. Could be anywhere, right? They are anywhere and everywhere, even if they've never been before. They just show up. Then one day, right? Then one day. Now, here's a big one. This is titled Encounters 2.0. Hello, Steve. First, thank you for what you do. I respect this endeavor very much. I've written once, but I figured it was too long or not believed as it was not read. And it's been a few months now. All my life I have had encounters with various beings from toddler age until recently. These videos have helped me fill in some memory blanks, and the constant information keeps me putting the pieces together of my own puzzle. Right on. I don't care if you say my name or location. Corey Merrill. Dannemora, Morrisonville, Caddyville, Plattsburgh, hometown, Scoida, Vermontville, Paradox Lake, Utica, and Nyack to the Tappan Zee Bridge, all New York State. I talked to my mother, and she remembers the red light with blue center coming out of the woods canopy in Morrisville. Whoa. Red light with a blue center. Coming out of the woods canopy in Morrisonville and following us towards our house at the time. She remembers it leaving. I do not. We lost 45 minutes of time. When living in the woods in Vermontville, for 3 months, I had many encounters at a distance, being followed around. I thought I was being hunted by them. Now I doubt it. I've come to believe these particular beings were keeping me safe, and no clue why. They kept to the edges of my lights during night. I strapped them on me in all directions if I had to do anything out of the camp yard, because you could hear, no shit, hundreds of feral or wild dogs, coy dogs, and coyotes nightly. Hundreds. Well, occasionally at the very edge of the light, I could see branches moving when they should not be, no wind or anything, and I felt hunted intensely every now and then. You could hear much more active ongoings, still not in sight. Another night I was grabbing firewood, and a moose snorted, but I couldn't see it. That's when I heard a loud cracking sound, and the moose started. Well, basically screaming. A moose screaming, coupled with loud, wet, packing, and smashing sounds. I never went to see what happened. Not ever. Hell no, I can only assume a tree was broken and used as a moose club. It was horrifying. That was the night I abandoned my AR for wild hogs, and I grabbed my 375 H&H, for it was the biggest gun I had, and I could use it effectively. While I never needed it, or any other gun for them, I was glad to have it for JIC. This is the same cabin that was opened up like it was a dollhouse several years prior. My dad said it was a bear, but I saw the damage. It is also the area I was wandering around on the trails, and everything turned blue. Unnaturally quiet, and when everything returned to normal, I'd guess 15 minutes later, I was 15 to 20 feet-ish from a white-tailed doe and 2 fawns. They didn't know I was there until I stepped on a stick and they pooped. Mama deer jumped in the air and they ran away. It is also where I would find stuff moved with no explanation, except they either like pranks or I don't know what. I was alone repairing the stovepipe supports. I went to the front of the camp, got a drink, went back around and my hammer was gone. And I found it about 2 miles away in my old tree stand. Nobody's there to take it. Interesting. And I have to say, despite anyone's doubts, I think ravens and jays may have a connection. I don't know how, and I'm not saying they see through their eyes or anything, but one huge raven was always around when activity would happen, be it in the camp yard or anywhere else in the area. I was sure to hear that awk, awk, and floof, floof of a 5-pound bird flying in the canopy just before it came into view, like a greeting almost. Because I'm trying to keep to the meat of it, I'm leaving a lot out. Better chance of it being shared that way. The main 2 things that are on my mind are what I call the raccoon thing. My ex and I were driving around, and this thing bolted out of the left side ditch and was running across the road with everything it had. We stopped, and as it got right in front of us, it stood up on its hind legs, still sprinting as fast as it could go. It was very weird looking. I don't know if it was tan or if it was refracting the amber streetlight color. It looked blurry. Outline was like TV static, but made out of whatever it was in front of. It ran into the ditch on the right near a horse farm. Sorry. Apologies for your loss of your favorite horse friend. It looked at us as if it was in the dark and shadows, but its eyes were BER colored, and I could see them despite the blackness it was in at that point. It ran off into the pasture, and my ex's something, I went on our way feeling like we just encountered a demon. After much searching, I could only find a wood carving from the 1400s depicting Pandora and her box and beings surrounding them. This looked like one of those things standing around them. Bushy tail, almost a porcupine-like quilled back, cat-like triangular ears, and the face of a person melded with a raccoon or similar shaped face. The details beyond that are not really something I can share with words. It was blurry, to naked eye, so like so many cryptid photos are. And a few years later, same X and myself are driving around, and again, from left to right, this deer-like thing is crossing the road. I thought at first it was a deer with a broken neck because its head was only a few inches above the ground. What the F is that? We asked each other. By then we had stopped, and as it slowly walked across the road, I could see its head was facing forward, jaw parallel to the ground, head swaying side to side slightly with each step. This was and is still a process to actually describe and understand what was seen. It had a bare skull or bone plate around its eyes and top of the snout. It looked like purplish gray tendrils or tentacles, or I don't know what it could be, coming from the front of its face, nose, mouth area. The last time I checked, we don't have octopus or squid in northern New York woods, so no effing idea what that was about. It did seem to have antlers. The color of it was a nauseating gray, colored fur on super mangy-looking, irritated, pinkish skin. Its front legs were arms. I couldn't see the feet well, but I know an arm when I see one. The structure of the body was like an orangutan. Massive forelimbs, small back limbs, a barrel chest, muscular but with extremely wiry build. Downward sloped back in some bare tail that reminds me of long rat's tail. I can't remember the eyes of it. Every time I try, I wake up from lucid dreams of green and red striped eyes with red iris and pupils and a huge toothy grin on black background. Every time I try to remember it. Even this may be enough to induce that reaction. The size of it recently hit me recently. I credit your channel and for this and other details of stuff I haven't even touched on. I never was able to see it all at once, despite it being like 50 feet away in the car's headlights. I remember the head and neck and the chest and the arms, the ribs, the stomach area, and finally hindquarters and tail. I can't put a measurement on it, but that's effing huge. I don't remember any sounds beyond us asking each other what the F is that. I haven't seen anything like it before or since that time, or the raccoon thing either for that matter. I no longer think I saw the ones we do not call by name, starting with W, as I first did since my first attempt at writing you. By coincidence, I've stumbled upon something called a Jotun, Jotunn, an ancient Norse demigod legend. The Sofar is the closest match, Sofar. Though I don't think it was a person's arms and legs making the tendrils and antlers, especially with the color. But honestly, this was so much of a shock already that if it was human limbs, they may not have registered as such. I've got a lot of theories about encounters like these and the Sabe, etc., and I'm finding that many are being proven plausible to actual as time goes on. I will share that in a new email if you care to read it. Piezoelectric current, power vortexes, harmonics, and EIF play roles, as do various light wavelengths. Play roles, as do various light wavelengths. I have a theory on what dulls Sabe/Bigfoot senses near waterways, too. The concentrations of rare and heavy elements in the ground are usually far above what you find elsewhere. Gold, platinum group metals, silver, copper, lead, tin, iron, ores, gemstones, uranium, ore, and rare earth elements are just a small fraction of what can be found in high concentrations in and around water. Thank you for your doing. Steve, thank you for everyone else who's decided to share and those who will decide to share in the future too. This is great work. This is great work, and you're good people for doing what you do. Don't take guff from those swine who are naysayers. They are weak and cannot handle the reality being something they have zero control over. Sadly, I am sure more than that one cop's wife has to wear extra makeup for a few days a week. The people who attack others for saying something they don't like tend to abuse their families regularly because they are weak human garbage with greed for power. Be well, everyone. All right, that's quite the email. I don't think we had a description like that before, and I don't know what the hell's going on where you guys were. Don't know. That was a little messy to read, but no, I got it. And then but the first descriptions were taking me back to that creepy-ass trail camera photo that we got from that elderly woman years back in the beginning. Remember that orange thing? Anyway, if there's anybody out there that can relate to that email, the same area, seeing some crazy-ass shit like that, comment section below. Let's hear about it. I wasn't there, right? Who knows? Sounds pretty crazy, man. All right, next. It's a little harder. It's a little more hard to read on this because the text is a lot smaller than on my phone in my face. But anyways, this is titled, I Got My Sabe Believer Fixed. Well, I'm sad to hear it was broken. Let's see what happened. My wife and I enjoy your show and watch every show. It has helped me understand a lot about the Sasquatch and the circumstances around them. Keep the course and stay strong. You can use my name, John Day. I live in Pierre Part, Louisiana. The events that I speak of happened in West Virginia and Louisiana. This is a summation of data collected about my and other Sasquatch events. I'm grateful you've given me an opportunity to share my story. Feel free to use my name, John Day. I'm 67 years old and a long-time hunter and fisherman. Hunted and fished in Louisiana swamps and hunted in West Virginia mountains. These mountains were home to my ancestors from before the French-Indian War. I have lived the biggest part of my life in Louisiana, but I also lived in California and was born in West Virginia. We left West Virginia when I was 4 years old. I hunted pretty near 20 years in West Virginia after my parents retired there. And my Sasquatch learnings and experience started in 2016. Here we go. October 14th, 2021. Well, my wife found what appeared to be a Bigfoot track at the goldfish pond. So, I looked 6 feet in the direction it seemed to be pointed, and that is the typical stride of a Bigfoot, and there was a similar indentation in the ground. What are the odds of that? During the time I was installing the camera, she heard a whistle, and my sister and I smelt something like rotten fish. I also heard a heavy footfall louder than what a deer could make, so we left the area. Plus, it was dark, and I was not able to listen because of a grandchild making noise. When we arrived at my parents' house a little while after, I heard what I thought was a small caliber rifle shot. I asked my sister, who was still in the car at the time, if she heard that sound, and she said it sounded like a rock hitting a roof. Then I heard a whistle. Now, since we got out of the cars and my wife was into the house, the neighbors' dogs didn't bark, and after that is when I heard a whistle from above my parents' house. Then the dogs began to bark. I started towards my truck to get a headlight to see what whistled. I then heard a tree break on the side of the mountain close in proximity. It startled me and made me hesitate going to my truck, but I forced myself to go anyways. I looked around thoroughly with the light, and I didn't see any eye shine on the side of the mountain. And the next day I went back up the mountain to check on my camera and walked around the trash bags to see if I could smell that odor. I made a full close circle and detected no smell. So, is it or is it not a Bigfoot? Who knows, but there are a lot of coincidences. In May 2016, during one of my visits to my parents' house in Filbert, West Virginia, an event changed my life forever. Before that event, I was somewhat skeptic. I'd seen movies and news on Bigfoot, but my opinion was still up in the air. I was working in the 5 Right area. It is right up the road from my parents' house, and it was cold enough to wear a coat, and at the time it was late evening. I was traveling on the dark side of the mountain bottom. I was making my way back to my parents' house, and I heard 4 tree knocks. I stopped to determine the origin with no success, and I proceeded to walk again then heard 4 more knocks. I looked a little longer and around more area to no avail. I proceeded to walk again, looking down to see where I was stepping. Then I heard noise 20 feet above me. Looked up and seen movement in the small limbs, where something, a stick or a rock, had passed parallel to my travel in the treetops. It passed before I could see the object. It looked like it traveled straight and fast. I decided I should proceed and travel on. When I told my parents, they laughed. Then informed me that someone 2 weeks prior to my arrival had seen Bigfoot at the goldfish pond. I'd later find out that my friend's cousin had found a big human turd as big around as a wrist. It was below the pond on the road. May 2019. My father thought he was dying. My brother and I drove from Louisiana straight to West Virginia. While time permitted, my nephew and I did some 4 knocks with no replies. One night I stayed at the hospital to look after my father so my mother could get some rest. The next day she informed me during that night something had slapped the house. Is it because we did the tree knocks prior? Your guess is as good as mine. When I was leaving West Virginia to go home, I told my nephew to look for X structure. He located one going up the mountain toward the goldfish pond. He took a picture of it with some other strange things. He sent them to me. In July of that year, my wife, grandson, and I made a visit to my parents, so my wife was curious about Bigfoot like me. I did some research and learned to do 1 tree knock, no more. Anything more could be aggressive. Who said that? So the first evening, we went to the top of the mountain past the goldfish pond, closer to the Miracle Mountain log cabin. We discovered another X by the gate going to the Miracle Mountain cabin. My nephew and me had to climb the road bank to get to it, and as we ascended, my nephew said something threw a rock at him. I noticed leaves kicked up in front of him, but I just thought he was messing with me. When we got to the top, I took a picture by the X and noticed this huge arch. And as we walked over by the arch, I felt a huge foot stomp. It vibrated my body. I then instructed, let's go. That night we decided to go back and do a single tree knock at the pond. You got to make up your mind, right? You finally got one vibrating your body and you leave and you're going to go back and try it again. Just hang out and introduce yourself, right? Not many people do. That night we decided to go back and do a single tree knock at the pond. We backed up to the pond so that our exit could be fast. My wife and grandson came with us. We got out and did a single knock and immediately got a reply, at which time I handed my nephew the stick and said, hit it again to see if it was an echo. No echo. I hollered, let's go. We left in a hurry. The next day we went to the pond to put up my game camera. We installed it 10 feet up the tree looking towards the pond. That night we went back up the mountain with LED spotlights in our heads. Windows down. Me looking up the mountain and nephew looking down the mountain. We passed the pond and turned around at the X structure by the cabin gate, heading back to the pond. When we got to the pond, I seen eye shine of 1 eye, while my nephew saw 2. I've hunted the biggest part of my life in the swamps, Louisiana, and the mountains of West Virginia, and I have seen eye shine, but never like that. The color looked pure gold and the size of a beer can bottom. We took off like a scolded dog. The next day I retrieved the pictures from my game camera and glanced at them and was disappointed. It was much later that I went back and discovered images and was shocked. While up there at the pond, I encountered 2 gentlemen and discussed a man seeing Bigfoot there. One of them scoffed at the notion. He was a skeptic. I mentioned I was just making them aware of things and gave an example. I'd once found a doe that was dead and no signs of predation or signs of cause of death, and I could tell it got his attention. I asked, what? He informed me of a bear he and his brother found in the same condition. Oh, weird. That's weird. My reply was, how do you know that? He told me they skinned it out because the hide was still good. I asked where it was located. Spice Creek was his reply. I asked, was it by the beaver pond? He said, yeah. Then I told him that was the spot where I found the doe. Him and his friend took off. My hunting buddy hunted there at Spice Creek and heard a scream he could not recognize, plus a tree stand torn from the tree that was 20 feet up the tree. Some other conversations. It's the title of this next paragraph. A woman from West Virginia contacted me about her husband and friends seeing one on that mountain. The beast crossed the road in one stride. He will not talk to anyone except her and his friend. A man had a dead horse. He went home and returned 1 hour later to find the corpse gone. Not a sign of what happened to it. And this is not far from my parents' house. So these are the reasons with some closer to my home in Louisiana not mentioned that have convinced me. Sounds pretty convincing to me. And here are the things close to home that have added, though not conclusive. Conclusive in the sense that there are no hard facts like visually actually seeing the creature. Oh, there's some pretty hard facts without seeing them. I did some investigating in my home area that was mostly asking people if they believe in Bigfoot. And one day I got an immediate reply, yes. So I asked the gentleman, why do you believe? His answer was, me and my friend were picking up deer dogs after dark late one evening from a boat along the Goddle. May be misspelled. We noticed this huge, hairy bipedal running away from them along the spoil bank. I posted on my Facebook page asking if anyone could share an incident, and I got a reply from a lady, and she replied that her husband had. We communicated back and forth for a while. Her husband wanted to talk. We set up a meeting. He told me the story of what happened. He didn't want me to give a lot of detail because of privacy, so I will give you a short version. They were camping, and this beast kept circling them and grunting. He went outside and could not see anything. Then there was a foot stomp that he never understood until I explained the stomp that happened to me in West Virginia. During the same time, some friends of his were frogging and spotted one up close while trying to retrieve a frog. It jumped in the water by the boat close enough to get them wet. Then it swam to the other bank and climbed up and ran off. That would scare the shit out of anybody. Then my wife and I decided to go check out the Goddle area, Godel area, that the deer hunter had mentioned. I pulled the boat into a cove and shut the motor down. I think it had been years since the hunters hadn't seen it there, but we were curious of the terrain there. The water was high at the time, so the woods were flooded. I picked up a stick and hit my paddle with some resistance from my wife. At that point, my wife heard something off in the distance walking in water towards my boat. Then I heard it also, and I could hear water dripping off of it as it paralleled the bank towards the front of the boat and kept going. We were both real uncomfortable with that situation, so we left. No doubt. Then there was a camping trip to the Kistachie National Forest, Kistachie National Forest. Most of the park was open except for some of the areas with activities due to COVID. We located a campground that was basically empty. We stayed there the first night with no incidents. I kept my gas lantern lit to keep some light. The second night we were eating and heard something way off in the distance tree knock. We went to bed around 8 or 9. We were sleeping until about 4 a.m. when I heard a ruckus that sounded like coyotes running deer. Then all of a sudden I hear a big tree crash and coyotes shut down and never make a peep again. So I looked up into the sky and think to myself, hurry up, sunrise. Now we're the only ones there. Then I hear a bear-proof trash dispenser slam shut. I didn't see the lights or hear a car door close, and now I'm really praying for sunrise. My wife's still sleeping. I don't wake her because I don't want to hear her. I don't want her to be scared and panic, so I'm still waiting, eyes wide open, when I hear a finger or stick dragged across my tent right above our heads. She woke up a little after that to use the bathroom, so these are my reasons to believe in Bigfoot. All right. This is a really long email. Hope this isn't, I don't want to be rude, but I hope this isn't a moment-by-moment account every single night, because we're getting the picture. One day at a credit union, I was talking to the manager about Bigfoot. She told me, as someone that belongs to the CU, credit union, that had an experience. He showed up right when we finished our conversation. The event goes like this. He had one parallel him in the woods as he walked down the road. His wife was in the car waiting for him, and as he approached, a rock was thrown across the road as he ready to enter the car. He looked at it and got into the car. His wife was screaming, "Let's go." He got further down the road and asked her what was wrong. She showed him a Bigfoot picture. It was standing right behind him. It had diverted his attention to cross the road so he wouldn't notice him. This was in South Carolina. He was doing some ancestral research on some land. Where's the picture? During 2020 deer season one evening, I was deer hunting one on family land all the way to the back part by the swamp, and I found a ladder stand that hadn't been used for a while. Well, I decided to make use of it and climbed up and sat for a while. I was looking down an overgrown road that ran next to a canal, and I thought I'd seen a face in some thick brush. I continued to hunt for a little while longer. Then my curiosity got the best of me. I decided to climb down and walk towards that direction. Towards the direction of the face. When I was close to the area I'd seen the face, I heard some walking in the water in the swamp, and it sounded like it was bipedal. So I looked out into the swamp, and I seen something that looked like a black, tall stump, about 50 to 70 yards out. I raised my rifle and tried to find it in the scope, and I couldn't see it in the scope. So I lowered my rifle, and it was gone. I quit the hunt after that. End of email. All right, there's a bunch of details of someone who's obviously a Sasquatch enthusiast. Nothing overly new there, that's for sure, for us to ponder or learn from, but there's definitely some mentions of some locations, right? For many of you who may be in the same area and might have had something go down. And maybe you want to add to it in the comment section below or email it to me, whatever, right? There you go. All right, one more. And then it's time to go carry on with my chores. Bigfoot in the Cascades. Hi, Steve. My name is Randy Parker, and I'm 60 years old, and you can use my name if you like. I'm from Washington State, and I hunt the foothills of the Cascades for elk. 20 years ago, two of my friends and I had gone pre-season scouting for elk for the day. But the last half hour at daylight, we had found a main game trail at the end of a dead-end road on top of a main ridge, and we decided to take a short hike and check it out. I decided to leave my .44 mag in the truck. Never again. About 15 minutes into the hike, all three of us had heard the most deep, guttural growl off to our left, no more than 20 to 30 yards away, that seemed to vibrate through your body, a lot like a lion's growl, but louder. At that moment, the three of us did a 180 turn back to the truck, and not one word was said until we were all in the truck. No doubt. As I was backing up, all we could say was, "What the F was that?" I've experienced a lot of encounters with bears bluff charging me and popping their teeth and even fighting in close proximity, and I've never had anything get to me as much as that growl did. Holy shit. I have a couple more stories I'll share with you later. Prayers go out to you and your friends and her family. God bless. All right, there you go. Appreciate you, Randy. I don't know why I haven't experienced that growl yet, but I have not. No, I didn't hear growl that night a year ago, 2 years ago now. It wasn't a growl I heard. It's just something weird in the bush, man. But I have a friend of mine. He was mule deer hunting, a place I've mule deer hunted a lot. It would have been about 20 minutes north of Clearwater, British Columbia. He was hunting the same place he's hunted lots of times. And he said that he got out of his truck, started entering the logged off area, so he wasn't even in the forest. And he said that something started growling at him from inside the timber that scared the shit out of him. And he turned around and ran back to the truck. How common is that? That's got to be so intimidating, right? Like when you try to picture being in people's heads, being a fly on the wall. A growl. I mean, I've heard some nasty ass sounds, especially from grizzly bears. I mean, I've heard some nasty sounds from grizzly bears, especially when you pick a fight with them and it's on, you're shooting them. Sounds a little graphic, I know, but whatever. This is part of life. Yeah, I've heard some nasty sounds. Some of the most spookiest sounds I've heard from natural known sounds is like, I remember being in central Alabama, dropped off. I forget what we were hunting. Why was it even dropped off? I forget. Might have been deer. But I was dropped off with my friends, and they had electric buggies. Those electric bad boy buggies. And it was a clear night, not a stitch of moonlight, no wind, stars, just dark enough I could see if something was going to be in the road, like a hog. And I was walking along the road. I thought they were just playing a joke on me, trying to freak me out. I'm like, whatever, I'll sleep here. I don't give a shit. But all of a sudden, you could hear those hogs snorting and squealing. Like it's so loud, and the people out there that know what I'm talking, what I'm talking about. It is so loud and abrupt and sharp, like and deep. And when you're by yourself in those forests down south, anywhere really, and it's dead quiet, and you're by yourself, and you hear that sound, it definitely gives you the pucker factor times 10, right? And then you're trying to think, oh, I wonder if I can shoot one of these things, in the pitch black without a light or any thermal or anything. Yeah, we were deer hunting for sure. Didn't have the thermals or anything. Yeah, but that's the only sound I can relate to. But one time we were circling around a rancher up north, had a bone pile out back where he threw all his dead everything. There was roadkill caribou stacked up back there. There was like a dead horse, a couple dead beef cows stacked up, and grizzlies were hitting it. It was springtime, and there wasn't any huge, we were actually grizzly hunting then, and there wasn't any huge boars running around. And the huge big boar grizzly bear, they're pretty well nighttime anyway. It's tough to get them. So we decided to start hunting the timber out way around, like doing a big circumnavigated that pile. I think we were probably about 300 yards away from it, going to the timber, and all of a sudden this frickin' bear roared. Like, not a roar like a lion, but you could just tell it was a pissed off grizzly. It's like, whoa. And we got we found his tracks. We found huge grizzly tracks in the sand. And that's why I started to do the circumnavigating that pile, see if I could bump into him in the timber laying down or something. And I guess we went by him, and our scent went to him, and he let us know it. That was intimidating. Far from shaking your body. Far from making you want to run. Didn't make you want to run for your truck and freak out, right? But anyway, there you go. I'm going to get going. Got to get this boat ready for a lot of you. And if you are inquiring about fishing, make sure you go to the page on the website, howtohunt.com, and hit up the email bookit@howtohunt.com. All right, that's what gets you directly to the eyes of the booker. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get your experiences shared word for word. What else? The trail cameras, Guard Pro. All the links, everything you need or curious about is on the How to Hunt website. Just read it carefully, make sure you go to the right place, right? And that's about it for right now. Hopefully I can get back in the woods, man, for doing and do this. I'm sure I had something else I needed to talk to you guys about, but I'm forgetting right now. My brain's starting to drift off to all my tasks. But the remote viewing. How's this for a question? How much do you think it would change society if you were to have a remote viewing course and classes all through the school system? How do you think that would change society if the next generation were brought back and taught those natural skills we have? What do you think that would do? What do you think it would do? All right. Throw down in the comment section below or email me what you know about that topic, because I have a big interest in it now. I should be back tomorrow. Later.